na guys. Matay lang naman eh.
Doon ako. Okay lang.
Ayos lang.
Okay lang.
Gusto mo ng flicker?
Hindi na.
Hindi na eh. Mag-demo ka rin eh.
Yeah, okay. Hi, good evening. Salamat sa pagpunta nyo.
Party lang tayo ngayon.
Yeah. Thanks.
More pizza for us.
I'll be giving a short talk on how I tested command line apps. My name is Nestor and I'm from Logica. So here's an outline of what I'll be talking about. I'll give a short comparison of command line testing versus web app testing. Before I proceed, you might be asking why I'm giving this talk. A few weeks ago, I've been asked to maintain a small project, an internal project called Householder, with simply a script that runs to drive VirtualBox in order to set up smaller virtual machines. Anyway, so to proceed, I'll be giving a short overview of the tools I used. It's called Cucumber and a Cucumber add-on called Aruba, and I'll show you what I've done so far. Okay, if you're testing web applications, you kind of have this mental model that you have to test it in levels, in tiers. Like, okay, I'm going to make Jasmine test from JavaScript. I'm going to make R specs for my models, and probably some controller tests for my complex controllers, and then I'll just I'll have something that integration tests using Cucumber. In command line apps, walang ganong klaseng stack. It's usually, I have this script, it does something to the file system, I need to check if that thing happened. So maraming yung mga side effects na may mangyayari sa file system, merong nakikreate na file, directories get created, status codes get printed, processes get spawned, etc. So, going back to this project that I had, this was a sort of a quick project and it's like a prototype, but they didn't have tests. So, when I was studying it, my question at the top of my head was, how do I know if it still works? I had to tear it up and eventually I had to figure out a way to make an integration test. I also was thinking of writing unit tests in RSpec, but it sort of isn't practical because the app that I built or the library that I have maintained, most of what it does, it spawns an SSH shell, does commands against that session. One of that sessions spawns another SSH command, which does another set of commands. So I was thinking maybe I'll skip the unit test part and just have an integration test that goes through the happy path. So I used so I was reading this book called Building Awesome Command Line Apps in Ruby, and one of the tools that they suggested to use is called Cucumber. Who is familiar with Cucumber here? 50%. Yes. So you basically express what you want to test in plain English using a syntax called gherkin. So there's a feature, and feature has certain scenarios. Each scenario has steps. This is good for end-to-end testing. And ultimately, it forces you for each step to write the code that you wish you had. Or so it goes. For command line applications, there are a lot of repetitive steps like checking if certain files exist, or checking if directories are set up or exit status are returned by certain processes. There's a gem called Aruba that does most of these things. Yeah. So a lot of my tests use to check if standard out contains the name of the virtual machine. I'll show an example. But yeah. Okay, so it goes to we're at the end of my talk, and so I built this. I have maintained this gem called Householder. It's a simple tool for spinning up virtual boxes. It's not a vagrant, so it's a way of giving your semi-permanent virtual box a home. Why did we do this? Because in our office there are several Mac OS X workstations that have VirtualBox, and some of them have a lot of memory, and we're thinking of spinning up a few VM instances so that we could test a few servers, so that we don't have to use EC2 or DigitalOcean most of the time. We just have basically use our own resources and ultimately save us some money. Okay. Yeah, so Householder, what it does, it executes a bunch of VBox manage commands by SSH. So ultimately, the integration test will have to check if it was able to connect to SSH and it was able to execute the commands and expect the correct output in standard out. Yay, that's it. So let me show you. Well, here's the code. Interesting. Oh, sorry. This is a small feature. This is an example of a feature that tests if SSH login is successful. So working syntax as a sysadmin, I want to SSH to my remote Mac so I can remotely run commands. When I wrote this, I made an assumption that the machine that I'm connected to already has what is called passwordless SSH installed. So you don't have to, when you SSH, it won't ask you for a password. There's a gem, which I forgot to mention in this slide. There's a gem called SSH Forever. That when it's a one-line command that SSH Forever username at host, and it asks you for one password, for your password book once, then it goes through the process of adding your public key to the remote server's authorized keys. Okay, so I'm just testing if I were able to log in, I do who am I, and I disconnect, I should see my username. Step definitions are here. Ordering for the font size. Okay, so this is step definition. What Cucumber does, it looks for a certain line, then matches it in the step definition file. Each step definition has a block, executes it. So this is how I would run the command, or how I'd expect it to behave. And yeah, so Cucumber has the syntax for given, so it sets up upon the preconditions. The when is when it's a command that says, okay, if I do this, then I expect something to happen. In this case, I'm just looking for standard out for the name of the remote user in standard out. That is simple. I'll skip the other feature because it's too complex. So the code's in GitHub if you want to look. Yeah, okay, so I was running this earlier. This was So before I run the test, I'm just going to run as older as it is. Yeah. So I'll break down the scene. Sorry if it's too far up. What it does, it pulls from a URL. In this case, I'm just testing it. I have Nginx running here. It pulls a box file. A box file is simply an archive that has an OVF file, which is an open virtualization format file. And the archive of it's like a template of a virtual machine. Connect to a remote user account on a remote server, then give it some IP address with a super user. You can access it through a super user using root and password. So the box that I'm using is a bit contrived. I set the root password to password, so big confused. And use EN0, which is the Wi-Fi interface, as the bridging interface. It's kind of quite a mouthful. So I'm still figuring out how to make certain defaults so that you don't have to type as many. Here we go. Luckily, SourcePad's network is also running the same subnet that I put in. So behind the scenes, it's running inbox manage. You might ask, why do we need a bridge adapter? So that the VM that we're creating can be seen on the same network. So that's the best. Takes a while to finish. Wild. That's what we do. For the class.
Hindi nagamit. Baka na-start na.
Start na, but expecting it to reboot. Give it time. I wonder.
Demo first.
Yeah. Why you know what? So I'm guessing the big shooters is taking time to set up. So yeah. How would I know that? Anyway, while we're waiting, so Yeah, so what this does is install certain software called bridge utils. And yeah, okay. So I think it took a while to download those and install those things. I was testing the last connection today. So it applies the guest network configuration, it shuts down, it basically reboots so that the network configuration is applied. And we should be able to SSH. Nothing works. I think no, that's
Tingnan mo dun sa virtual box. Headless ba siya?
Hindi ko alam na. Sad to put up the video. Sorry about that. Demo failed.
Ay,
Oh man.
hindi na set up yung
Network. But,
so may bug.
yeah.
At Edge, ano, check na yung Edge network. Lagin ko. Yung Edge network interface. Oh, nasa naman siya ng tama. Pero at least alam natin na
Yeah.
nakaset siya ng tama. Hindi lang gumana dun sa network. Baka hindi lang valid yung IP address niya.
Okay, so yeah, sorry about that. I was supposed to SSH in and do a bunch of things. Anyway, thank you. Yeah, that's it.
Why are you using Docker?
Yun yung tanong eh. Oo nga, pwede laptop. Kasi hindi na mag-shield yung ano.
We could, but yeah.
Question?
Or OpenStack?
That'd be nice. Yeah. That'd be nice, but so yeah, so we have these Mac servers that have VirtualBox and Docker. I haven't run Docker without having to run VirtualBox in a Mac machine. So that's one thing. Yeah. As for OpenStack, I haven't tried setting it up on the Mac server. So yeah. Weird that my packets are so. That's weird.